Between 1966 and 1976, China engaged in a domestic culture war that obliterated the nation's heritage, historic artefacts, irreplaceable records, treasured places of worship, and horrifically, people. Everything that did not or could not be made to fit the communist view of the world was erased. The worst thing of all is that the destroyers, the desecrators, and the maniacs of Chairman Mao won. The purge of the Cultural Revolution was described as a great leap forward. Well, today we are standing at the edge of the Western world's Great Reset, another cultural revolution on the lips of every leader from Biden to Boris that promises to purge the past and build back better, which is a statement that quietly assumes that the world must first be turned into rubble. Joining me to discuss this alarming situation is ADH Chairman Maurice Newman. Maurice, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Alexandra.
Maurice, a lot of people, including at times our former Prime Minister Scott Morrison, have dismissed the culture wars as a distraction from the wider story of politics. They would rather talk about the budget or healthcare. But you have written a piece in the Spectator magazine titled Mao's Last Stance, Democracy Crumbles, Next Stop Tyranny. Now, before we talk about the specifics of your piece, I'd like to ask you, is the culture war taking place in Australia significant? Or should we all start paying much closer attention to what's being taught to our young generation in universities and schools around the country?
Well, it's all part of the same thing. Our children in schools and in universities are all being taught the sort of things that we're meant to now despise our past, we're meant to be ashamed of our history and only concentrate on all of the things which make children say, well, we have to look for something else. We can't believe in the values that our parents, grandparents fought for in various wars. So it begins in kindergarten. Children are being indoctrinated and they are being brought up to have a view of the world which says that we are white supremacists, that we've been slave traders, we've done all of the things which we should despise, and that's our history. That's our legacy. That's our inheritance, and therefore we have to turn away from that. And that was essentially Mao's lessons. That there were I think he called them the four things that we had to get rid of. Our old habits, our old thoughts. I don't remember the entire four, but they were the things which he was pushing and that people were required to turn away from.
Well, we've certainly gotten rid of merit and competition and achievement in our schools. I think I crept through just on the edge of this, but have you seen that there is a very real decay in the level of education for our children? From what you've seen and what parents have told you, is this a real decline in quality, or are we imagining it?
No, the accent on education today is well-being. So we have to have happy children. And that means the teachers have to concentrate on well-being as opposed to grammar, arithmetic, the sorts of things which will equip them for a career in later life. When they go to university, they have oppression training because if they become privileged in the future, then they need to be able to become more humble and not to consider things like diversity, equity and inclusion. These are more important than making profits. These are more important than competing. And children today are taught, in fact, not to compete. Everybody, whether they come first or last, gets a gold star. And so it doesn't really matter whether you are first or are last because everybody's going to treat it the same. And therefore, we're all supposed to be, all the children are supposed to be happy.